Hi, am I audible to everyone? Yeah! Alright guys. First of all, I really feel very honored being here and being honored by Sir, Dean Sir and Faculty Advisor Sir. It's a great pleasure for me. Really feel very great. And I would like to thank all the organizers here, all the arrangements for this event, all the arrangements of my stay here, they all have been super great. So, in this talk, I'll talk about my entrepreneurship journey and then I'll talk about interview preparation, technical interview preparation, right? DSA interview preparation. So, thank you guys, thank you guys, thank you. So like every other engineering student, I started my journey with IIT JEE preparation. I studied 12th from UP board in Hindi medium and after that, my school topper told me that there is an exam called IIT JEE. If you go for it, you get good salary. And I am going for it, you also come and join this IIT JEE preparation. So in our times, there was no limit. You could appear in IIT any number of times. So after 12th, I did a break of 2 years and appeared IIT JEE 2 times and could not crack it. And then I ended up in a college where we had 0% placement. This college was in Mathura. And the college was affiliated to a university and someone was teaching and someone else was writing the question paper. So academic was super tough for me. After doing BTech from this college, I started applying for different companies. I came to Delhi and went to my brother's house and I appeared in almost every interview. I just wanted a job after BTech. And you guys, in our time, BPO jobs were very popular, the call center jobs. So I used to get a lot of interview calls for BPO jobs and those guys simply used to reject me because I was coming from Hindi medium, right? And I couldn't speak English that well. Then somehow in my life, I realized that I want to be a teacher. I want to teach students. So I started applying for teaching jobs everywhere. And one more thing that happened during 2004 was, when you are from such a college, you don't get calls from software companies. I tried everywhere. I tried even doing jugaad with Wipro, TCS, Infosys. Nobody called me even for a single interview, right? Nobody called me. And then I actually started applying for teaching job everywhere. I got rejected even in teaching jobs. There was a local coaching center that was teaching school students for programming and they also rejected me after 1 or 2 demo lectures. Finally, I got an interview call from an engineering college in Alwar and this college actually invited people to teach advanced computer architecture. And there were 2 people who appeared for the interview because it was raining heavily that day. And they rejected the other guy and selected me. And that is how I got my first job of 8,000 rupees per month after engineering. Thank you. And after I got my first job, I felt that if I want to be a successful teacher, I must go for higher studies. So I started preparing for GATE exam and with 1 year I prepared and then I joined IIT Roorkee for MTech. You guys are really awesome guys, really enjoying this and in IIT Roorkee, I actually was the same person who was not even getting any single opportunity to appear in any software company and there was more than 100% placement and I knew that I am going to get placed here. And all the big companies used to come, Google, Microsoft, DShaw. I got placed in DShaw and company from IIT Roorkee. And one thing that I realized during my interview preparation that I had studied a lot of subjects in BTech 4 years and then a lot of subjects in MTech. It was like 6-7 years of studies and then finally when it came to interview preparation, it was all about problem solving skills. All the companies that came there for interview, they were all asking DSA questions. They were all asking data structure algorithm questions. And I did not know that. I did not know that in BTech, I was just struggling to qualify the academics because there was affiliate and we were the first batch of that university. So there were so many backlogs in that university. I remember we were a batch of 87 students in BTech and out of those 87, in the first semester there were only 5 students who did not have any backlog. And I was very lucky to be among those 5. I was so much into academics. Thank you guys. So after seeing this gap that when you study so many subjects in engineering, it's all about data structure algorithm. When I appeared in D-Shop, all they asked was some data structure algorithm questions. There was a question based on merge sort, and there was a question on dynamic programming. And all the other companies were asking linked list, tree, all these sort of questions. So I realized that whatever we study in those engineering days, that is not of that much use compared to data structure algorithm when it comes to a job. So I saw a big gap. To fulfill this gap, I felt that there should be some portal or there should be some platform which can help the students in telling them, guys, whatever you are studying, if you're looking for a job, you need to prepare these set of questions. And that is why I thought of starting GeeksForGeeks with my D-Show job. I started doing it as a weekend activity on Saturday, Sunday. And I'm 40 plus guys, and our generation was a blogging generation. This generation is YouTube generation, and then the next generation is Instagram generation, Reel generation. In our days, blogs were very, very popular, and everybody around me, even my classmates, they were writing blogs. So I started with a blogging website on Blogspot and started publishing the interview questions, which were asked to me in IIT Roorkee and were asked to me asked to my friends in other colleges in IIT Roorkee. And since there was nothing like GeeksForGeeks, people started consuming it. And the only thing that I did for promotion, I created some user profiles in different forums. There was no website during those days. All the YouTube channels and all the other platforms, they started very, very late. Many of them started with GeeksForGeeks. So there were some forums though. So what I used to do, I used to create a user handle Karthik, and I used to share the links of GeeksForGeeks, that there were some students who used to ask questions, and that is how I did all the promotion. And since I was working in a company, I never even used my name to publish the articles. No promotion, no marketing. Because I was scared that, if my manager comes to know and my team comes to know about this, it might cause problems in my job. And D-Show was such a high paying job. So never use my name, and this quality content was not there, so it automatically became popular. And guys, one thing that worked for me in the D-Show job, I had learned how to write the readable code, because when you work in a top product-based company, they review your code before you publish it, and you learn how to give proper names to the functions, how to give proper variables, how to write proper comments, so that it becomes readable. And that has really worked for me. I used to break the code into functions, publish it, and that is how it became readable. And with time, traffic started growing. And one thing that happened really great with GeeksForGeeks was humanity works in great ways, guys. If you give something to society, it gives you back. I have seen this multiple times. GeeksForGeeks was helping students. So what happened was, there were many emails which I started receiving. I simply used to write that thing, that if you also want to contribute to GeeksForGeeks, write an email to contribute@geeksforgeeks.org. And there were many students who used to simply send an email that, hey, this was a question which was asked to me in Microsoft Amazon interview, and I answered and I got selected. And they used to send the solutions as well. And those codes were not professional codes, they were not having comments, but I had learned the technique of writing the readable code in my D-Show job. So I used to review that code, refine that code, used to add a lot of comments, and that's how the content started growing. And I had this passion of teaching, and what I did with my D-Show job I started applying for teaching jobs as well everywhere. And with private college, see, if you want to be a teacher in IIT or top government college, you'll have to have PhD or postdoctorate. But I used to apply mostly private colleges, and there the salary was very, very less. It's sometimes half or one third of what I was getting in D-Show. But I kept on applying, and finally I got an offer from a college called JIIT Noida, and those guys offered me the best salary that I got so far as a teacher. Even this salary was less than my software job, and the perks was not good, because you work in a software company, you get a lot of perks, a lot of parties happen, your medical insurances are of very high cost, and everything is super there. But still, I resigned from my D-Show job and accepted the offer from this engineering college. And what happened was, after that, everybody around me thought that I was being fired from D-Show. Everybody thought that way, because the salary of this teaching job was much less. it was much less compared to even that, even though it was highest so far, it was much less. And Geeks for Geeks was not making any money. Although I had worked for it for 2.5 years, I was just publishing the content and people were consuming it. There were no ads during that time and it was not making any single penny. So I went for a lower salary in JIIT, Noida, and joined there as a teacher and resigned from my teacher job. And my wife actually cried. She said, I married to a software developer. I didn't marry to a teacher in a private teaching college. And then, whenever our relatives used to visit us, they all used to feel like, what is this guy has done in his life? He has, made his life standard really low. Because I was living in a very good flat in Hyderabad when I was working as software engineer. But when I joined as a teacher, I could not afford that good flat and all. And many relatives asked that, you were saying that you have started something as a part-time activity. How much money you are making out of that blog? I said, I'm not making any money. And then they said, okay, send us the link. And when I used to share the link of the blog, most of the people used to say that, how will you make money out of it? You're just publishing some question and answers. And I had no answers to them, guys. And I was just sure that the traffic is growing and it's helping people. And that's where I would like to add something for the aspiring entrepreneurs. Guys, see, if you see a problem around you and if you can solve it, and if people are consuming it, and if the consumer base is increasing, and if people are happily consuming it, then your business would grow for sure. Money, fame, all these things, they'll come with the time. If you listen to your consumers really, really well, it might happen that initially only there are 10 consumers and you are sharing your links at different forums saying that this thing can help you, but the consumer base is growing slow. But if those 10 consumers are happy and they are telling other people that, okay, this is some platform that you would like to use, then you are definitely on the right path of entrepreneurship. Money, other things, they would automatically come. And that's what happened with me. Initially, it was not making any money. I went for a lower salary. Even then, it was not making any money. I worked as a teacher in that engineering college for 3 years and did not make any money. Even those 3 years, went for a lower salary. We became parent also during that time. But we were not making any money out of Geeks for Geeks. And what happened? After certain years, my wife said, okay, you've spent so many years. See, what happened with me was, I come from a family where my dad was a government clerk and my wife comes from a business family. She comes from a business family, her father was a businessman. So she was very sure that if you're providing some services, then you must put some cost on it. So she said, at least put ads on it. So that's when we decided to put ads on Geeks for Geeks, and ads really work great for us. Why? Because if you have people consuming your content outside India, especially in the developed countries like US, China, Europe, then you get very good money through ads. And that's what really worked for me. Although the first check was of a very, very low amount, and again there were questions from the family and everyone that you spent 5 years into this thing, and the first check that you got is very less amount, now what? And I was super happy, guys, when I got this check. This was my first own income. And I was sure that if I can make this money, I can even make more money and I can actually grow it. And with some more time, the money actually grew a lot. The traffic grew and the money became double. And after 5.5 years of my teaching job, there came a moment when my ad revenue became double of my teaching salary. And then it was very, very easy for me to leave that job and do Geeks for Geeks full time. Because before that, I even did not plan to be an entrepreneur, to be very frank. I just wanted to be a teacher in a college. And I in fact applied for PhD in some IITs. I applied actually in IIT Delhi. I did not have any other options because I was making money from that teaching salary. So I did not have any option to do PhD full time. So I applied to IIT Delhi and I got rejected there. So that was also one of the rejections in my life. And Geeks for Geeks grew, money grew, so I started to decide to do Geeks for Geeks full time. And that really worked for me because I was already making a lot of money. And this is where I would like to add something for the aspiring entrepreneurs, guys. See, many of us get inspired from the people who drop out from the college, who take decisions like, okay, I'll leave it full time. I always believe in that fact that if you make some money out of a business, whatever you have established, whether you established a very, very small business, even if you make 2,000 rupees per month, that should be good enough to decision making. Don't just leave something because you have some business idea that is not making any money, right? If you start making some money, then you have actually done some business, right? Then you can leave something and go for higher, you can leave your education or leave your job and then go for higher revenue and make doing it full time, right? That's what I would always suggest. And one more thing that I have learned as an entrepreneur is many of us, when we are in India, especially when we are in IIT or NIT, we look at the people in Stanford University, Harvard University, what they are doing, and we try to copy their ideas or build something around the same ideas. And the people who are in tier 3 colleges, engineering colleges, tier 2 colleges, they look at their friends in IITs and NITs, what they are doing, and they try to mimic the same things that those guys are building. I always believe, guys, that entrepreneurship does not work this way. It's like simple business where you see a problem around you, and especially a problem for which you are part of, and if you can feel like with your technical skills, with your passion, you can solve that problem, then you're good to go as an entrepreneur. Don't compare yourself or don't look at the other people what they're doing. See, if you look at GeeksForGeeks example, it's an Indian problem. Employment among the engineering students is not a problem in US, it's not a problem in other developed countries. And that is why it worked in India, right? It might not work that well in US, right? It worked really great in India. So look at a problem which is around you, and if you can solve it with your skills, try to build a very, very small product. And I would always say, don't make a product which is like a planned product for a year or 2 years, that I'll get this much investment and then I'll make a product. Make a product which is end-to-end and small, that you can quickly build it, right? Once you quickly build an end-to-end product and some people start using it, take their feedback very, very seriously and keep on iterating over the product. Even now as a company, we work this way. Whenever we build something, we build a very minimal version of it, right? And then we keep on iterating over it. And now adding a few more things about GeeksForGeeks. Guys, we are a bootstrapped company. We never took any loan. We never took any funding. I started with 3 students of mine. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I started with 3 students of mine in that engineering college. They were interns. And how did I choose those 3 students? Again, I would say, guys, the DSA skills, the coding skills, that's what I looked at. Those guys had represented that college, that private college in ACM ICPC, and they had qualified the regionals. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So if you qualify ACM ICPC, that means 2 things. You are not only a good coder, you are also a good team worker, because there you have a team of 3 people that go for the competition, right? So those guys did really great work. They built the online compiler, they built like feature, comment feature, and a lot of other stuff. And what happened with those guys was, they, after finishing their college, used to come back to the office. I had opened the office very close to that college, and they used to come to office after college, after 5 o'clock, and they used to spend a lot of time there and work till final year. One of those guys is right now in Amazon AWS office in Canada or US, and one is in Google, and one is working in Amazon Hyderabad. They all have done great in their lives. I would have loved to have them in GeeksForGeeks full-time employee, but did not have that much money to hire them, right? So they left us after some time and joined those companies. So talking about bootstrapped and funded companies, what my journey has been, I would like to just share my experiences so that you guys learn these things when you begin entrepreneurship beforehand. See, what happened with us as a bootstrap company, when we grew over the time, there were a lot of acquisition offers. There were a lot of companies in edtech that got funded, and they all looked at us, they all wanted to acquire us. All the big companies in edtech, they have all approached me for acquisition. But what my stories, guys. I've spent like 14 years now on GeeksForGeeks, and and guys, if you ask me, I was never the brightest or the smartest of my batch, whether it was my schooling or my engineering BTech days or in IIT Roorkee. I could only get best CGPA 9 point something in my first semester of IIT Roorkee. That is the best I got. And then when these companies approach me, I don't even ask them like how much you will offer. I simply say no, because I have spent like 14 years and I'm really enjoying it. Whatever money I get now, I'll actually not be enjoying my life. What will I do next day with that money if I don't have to work upon GeeksForGeeks? And one more thing is, not every product becomes successful. You know, even if I try, I don't have any superpowers. Even if I try something now, it might fail, and there are high chances, because my age is now 40 plus and I don't have that much energy. And to continue working on GeeksForGeeks also, I need to do a lot of meetings. There are 300 people in GeeksForGeeks, and if we make... Thank you very much. So there are now 300 people, and if I wish to make any change in GeeksForGeeks, I'll have to align everybody. There is a sales team, there is marketing team, there is HR team, product designers, product managers, software team, and I'll have to make sure that everybody's vision is aligned. They all know why are we working on this thing and how are we planning to go ahead about this thing. So I do a lot of meetings now. If you ask me my routine as an entrepreneur, I wake up at 8 to 9. I'm not an early wake up guy. And then I go to office around 10 o'clock, and 10 to 6 to 7 I do a lot of meetings. I just come back from office from 6 to 7, and then I follow my passion of teaching. I record videos after coming back to home till 10 o'clock, and I do record at least one video every week. Thank you guys. So now coming back to you guys, see, if you compare yourself with me, it's even easier for you to do an entrepreneurship. See, I am 41 and you guys are 20 plus now. You can definitely start a product, and one more thing is, your product is going to be more agile and you are going to have more flexibility. If I am an invested company, I'll have to align the investors, and if I am an invested company, I'll be chasing those numbers. When I got an investment, I must have shared numbers with the investors that I'll reach those many numbers if you give me this much money, right? Since I'm a bootstrap company, we are a bootstrap company, it is easier for us to pivot and make changes. If a student here gives us an idea that why don't you build this feature on GeeksForGeeks, I can go back to office and just do a set of meetings and align everybody around that idea. Being a student for you, it is even more easier. If you are if you're co-founders, 3-4 co-founders, and if you build a product that is being consumed by people, some consumers, and if a consumers say that, you know, why don't you make this change? Why don't you remove this feature and add those set of features? You can sit overnight, you can do 3-4 night outs, and you can actually build that feature. You don't have to align 300 people. You don't have to, do those many meetings, and it's super easy for you, right? I remember those days. When I started, I'll just share some more interesting stories about GeeksForGeeks. When I started GeeksForGeeks, I was alone doing it as a part-time activity with my teaching job and my software job. And what used to happen was, since internet was not very much available in 2009, many students, in fact in NIT Warangal, in NIT Allahabad and all those NITs, what they used to do was, they used to write some script to download all the articles so that they can prepare for their interviews. And when they used to run these scripts, the servers used to start seeing a high load and they used to go down many times. And I was alone doing it. There was no team. So for so long time, I used to have this window always open that shows the server load. That what is the load right now? There is this command in Linux, uptime, that shows you the load on the server. I used to run this like anything day and night, and I had learned this also to block certain IP addresses. I used to block the IP addresses where students were running the scripts, and that's how I could make the server running for a long time. So that's how you begin, right? When you are a beginner entrepreneur, you spend a lot of time and you actually enjoy it. The kind of enjoyment that you get during the journey, the kind of learnings that you get. I never knew anything about what is an HR, what does HR department do, how does sales function, how does sales team work, how does marketing team work, what are their numbers that they have to achieve, how do they actually think, and all those things I learned in entrepreneurship journey. And the kind of learning I got there is unmatchable, guys. No other job can give you that learning. I would not say that everybody should go for entrepreneurship but you must try it. And guys, it's a long-term game. If you are thinking to be an entrepreneur in the final year or third year, it's going to be more difficult because then you will have the job pressure. Begin from the first year itself. Building a brand or building a company takes a lot of time. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes at least 3-4 years to make a brand visible. Even if you get funding, even then it takes that much time. So begin as soon as possible, try it, and don't leave your studies, don't leave anything just to start a business. Just do it part-time, do it on weekends, do it in night hours, and then just start generating some revenue, whether it is 2,000, 5,000, or whatever it is. And then you decide, then it's up to your risk-taking capabilities, whether you want to take higher risk or you want to continue with the part-time thing. Like I continued with the part-time thing for 5 years, right? So it's up to your decision. But try it at least once. So guys, that is all about entrepreneurship. I'll now quickly talk about DSA and interview preparation.